Welcome to My Poly Life, where we delve into all things polyamorous. I'm Phoenix. With me is my beautiful wife, Victoria. And joining us is our co-host, internationally renowned chef and all-around dope artiste, Em. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Oh, good.
So let's jump right in. All around the world, right? Everyone is familiar with the concept of soulmates, this nebulous idea that you search the world all over, you're gonna meet one perfect person who fulfills all your needs, completes you, and you guys marry, hopefully, and live happily ever after, correct? Like we've seen this in books, in films, in songs. This idea is everywhere. Well, recently, a growing number of people have sought to challenge that idea and try to live a different lifestyle. That lifestyle is called polyamory. Now, before we get deep into semantics, I guess, how would you two describe polyamory in a nutshell? Any takers?
Em, you want to go ahead and start that?
Yeah, so I think I describe polyamory as a way that you, like as a person, to be able to love multiple people at once and not necessarily having a physical, intimate relationship with all of them. But yeah, just basically being in love with more than just one person.
I think that's pretty good.
How I define it.
Absolutely. And I think just to go off of that a little bit, to me, polyamory is being able to have and share connections with multiple people in a way that is loving and intimate, but not always intimate in a physical way, right? There's still the connection that is forged, and you're able to do that with multiple people, and everybody knows that you are, you're committed, and you are, the love is there, right? So for me, it is that, the ability to have that and to do that in a very freeing and honest and open way.
Right. So I think we all agree it's the formation of multiple loving romantic relationships with the knowledge and consent of everyone involved. I guess just to break down the word poly, poly comes from the Greek word meaning many. Amory is the Latin word for love, so essentially many loves, to the viewers that aren't clear about where it comes from. I think it's often lumped in with other forms of open relationships, other forms of consensual non-monogamy like open relationships, swinging. What do you guys think would be the difference maybe between those and poly?
For me, I think that it's the commitment aspect, right? There's a level of commitment that comes with polyamory, in my mind anyway. Like I said, the love aspect, I don't think you get that from swinging or open relationships. Those are more sex and physical based, in my mind anyway.
What do you think, Em? Is that like how you've seen it, or?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Victoria to an extent. I'm sure you can swing with multiple people at once and still be polyamorous with them, but it's just polyamory has a deeper meaning to it because like you said, Victoria, like you can have multiple open relationships, you can be swinging, you can be like in many physical relationships with many people, and that's not necessarily polyamory because polyamory has a deeper level, like you have to have a deeper level of connection with a person. It's really just not just purely physical.
Yeah, I think I agree with that because I kind of get annoyed sometimes when people just lump poly in with everything else because I think one thing that's missing a lot in all relationships, even monogamous relationships, is kind of that love and that connection sometimes. I think a lot of people form relationships just based off sex, and I'm not knocking that, but I do think that is perhaps the key difference with polyamory. It's the amory, the love.
Yeah. And also, I think one more thing that I think I would just like to add is that you can be also, like, let's say you're dating, right? As a single person, you're dating. I don't think it's the right term to call yourself polyamorous if you're just casually dating, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Because then the people you're seeing don't necessarily know that you're seeing other people, and you're still like, it's just anything's up for grabs at this point. And I don't think the word polyamory should be very frivolously used.
I agree. I agree because it's a buzzword. Everybody's interested in it, but again, like you said, don't misapply it. So on that note, how did you guys get into polyamory? Any takers for that one first?
I'll give you this one first.
You go first.
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay, then you go.
Okay. I think honestly I was born this way. Like, I think I've been like this from the beginning. Seriously, I first became interested in girls as far as wanting a girlfriend as a child in like 6th grade. And there was one girl in 8th grade. She was pretty and sweet, and I just wanted to make her my girlfriend. I did that, and a couple months later, there was another girl in 8th grade who was a little rougher around the edges, and I liked that too. And I just, it was kind of open, like everybody knew I was kind of dealing with both of them, and it was fine. And I think I've pretty much been like that since I've had monogamous relationships. But I think at my core, I've always been poly.
Okay, then I guess I'll go next. I would say for me, it was probably in my mid-20s when I figured it out. I had always had monogamous relationships, and it was just something that made me realize, like, something clicked in my head where it was just like, this one person forever, and it's supposed to be everything forever. Like, that whole idea, like, I had to take a step back, and it just blew my mind. Like, that's just weird. Like, that's weird to expect that. Like, and then not only that, for me, it was, I have to be that for somebody too. Like, it's a lot of pressure with that, so much pressure. But I think really, even when I, all joking aside, when I take a step back, and when I took a step back and I did an evaluation, I realized, like, it's unfair on a lot of levels, right? So just kind of like coming to an understanding and accepting, like, this is what I think I need to do as far as poly. That seems like the way to go, and it was just kind of like took off from there at that point.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn now.
Yes.
Yeah, I realized that I was capable of loving or being at least attracted to multiple people at once on more than just a physical level when I was in my later teens. But I think I only fully understood the idea of polyamory or non-monogamy. Well, actually more polyamory when I was in San Francisco. So I don't know if the viewers have or will know my background, but I come from Singapore, right? I am Chinese by blood, and by culture, we are very conservative people. I grew up being taught by my dad, not to date. You can't have boyfriends until you're in college. Until you get a degree, then you can go and date. And if you date, it's for serious. Like this is the be all and all. And to me, that's just ludicrous, because why would I want to just date one person forever in my 20s? That just sounds crazy. Am I supposed to spend the rest of my life with this just one person forever? So after I come to San Francisco, actually during the point when I first started out in America, I had a girlfriend, and we at that point have been together for 3 years, and I realized that I had developed more feelings for somebody else. It wasn't it wasn't a sexual relationship, but it was definitely a deeper than just platonic friendship, with somebody I used to work with, and then and this came to this made me think to myself, wait, am I cheating? Is this bad?
Yeah.
What am I? Because I felt very conflicted within myself. And I then had asked a coworker of mine who is in an open relationship. He has been for the past, I don't know, over 10 years. And he handed me a book, The Ethical Slut, and I read it, and I was like, wow, there's a whole community of people who are more accepting and open to the idea of something that's just not one track, or what's been set as an example for the majority of the people.
Now, I think you made a good point about feeling conflicted, right? When you were in San Francisco, you were in a relationship with someone, and you had a non-sexual connection with another person. I think that's pretty common, right? If you ask every monogamous person, if they're honest with you, everyone has been there at least once. I think most people just stop there, though, because they think, oh, is this wrong? Is this cheating? And most people, I've learned, don't want to cross any mental boundaries based on the perception they have of themselves. So I'm not a cheater, so it's not cheating. I'm not going to think about it in that way. And I think it's because we don't have the tools, generally speaking, to be able to handle and talk about polyamory. So like you said, reading The Ethical Slut, I haven't read it, but I know it's a big book in the community. That's one way of introduction. So that leads me to my next point. I want to talk about representation, right? I found this quote in an article on Medium by William Costello. Check this out. He says, Polyamorous people are invariably presented to us as overweight, unsuccessful, and often with pink or blue hair and childlike eccentricities. They are held up as something to be poked fun at as symptomatic of an uber-progressive political leaning. They're depicted as intellectually and sometimes even morally lacking. So I want to ask you guys, I don't think that was his opinion of polyamorous people. He's saying when you see polyamorous people depicted, on TV. So I want to ask you guys, M's face is already telling me she has an answer fired up. Do you guys agree or disagree with that depiction in the media?
Do we look like that? Like, I don't think we look like anything they've described. I'm definitely overweight, I feel. But apart from that, my hair is black.
No, I just think for myself, when I've searched for content, you do tend to get two types of content, right? One that focuses on the drama, because every relationship is going to have some type of drama. Or I do think you get content that focuses on people who, even if they're not outlandish themselves, let's say the way the editing and the production is framed, it's centered around presenting them as oddballs. And I think that's why we all wanted to do this, to kind of show, like Em said, we're none of those things. We're all just normal people, parents, business owners,
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think... Sorry, go ahead.
You were saying? I keep doing this. Okay, I'll go. Yeah, so I think people will generally ostracize if they don't understand things, like let's just even going back to way back when America was not filled with white people, and they called the Native Americans like savages and all that stuff, but everyone's just doing their own thing, and dude, you came from another land, and now you're calling these people like dirty, like savages, like can't behave themselves kind of stuff. But I think everyone has their own fear. Everyone is entitled to their own emotions, and but we shouldn't be so quick to judge and just cast such negative stereotypes onto polyamorous people, especially since you if you don't understand how if you don't understand polyamory at all, just just listen and learn. Don't just say, oh, these people are unsuccessful, useless people who can't find love. I've definitely heard those things before. And my friend, I had a friend who called me slutty, jokingly, but I'm like, I mean, who isn't slutty when you're dating, right?
Yeah, but they're out dating different people all the time with no romantic connection, and that's not slutty.
Exactly. Caring is about it worse? More. Are you? At some point you're just using people as warm dildos,
pretty much. Yeah,
you're objectifying. You're basically using them for sex, right? Whereas I think polyamory comes with something more than just that, and it doesn't, like I said before, it doesn't necessarily tie to just a physical sexual relationship. So yeah, I just think nah.
We're gonna get into some deeper stereotypes in a second. Go ahead, Vic.
Yeah, because I think that quote it's much like, quite frankly, there's too many generalizations that are made on a lot of levels, right? We can't sit here and talk about, all monogamous people are stupid because the divorce rate is 50% or whatever. Because you could say that, right? You could make the argument that they're they're wasting their time. So I mean, for me, and I think you hit it on the head when you said it really is just like an uneducated, or not even uneducated, just an uninformed assessment of a group of people that you just don't understand, right? And you haven't taken the time to learn. You haven't taken the time to even ask the appropriate questions, right? Or find out, hey, we have, I think we here are an example of, I have 2 degrees, you're a business owner, he's a business owner, we are nothing like the quote, in the sense of unsuccessful or even unintelligent.
Excuse me, I just want to point out you're not the only one here with degrees, ma'am. Continue.
Well, that's all I got, okay? I don't have a business yet, so, but seriously, and I think even with all the stuff that was listed in that quote, it takes a certain level of emotional intelligence to be polyamorous. I don't care what anybody says. If you have ever tried it, you do need to be emotionally intelligent. There's communication, there's commitment, there is trust, so much stuff under that. But we can talk about that.
I saw that raised hand. Em is good for raising the hand. Go ahead.
No, I was.
Go ahead.
So here's the thing. It didn't come very natural to me, right? Because I feel like growing up, I wasn't really exposed to like dating life and like communicating about my feelings so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I was taught by somebody who was polyamorous how to be more communicative about how I feel, and to be more patient and understanding with other people's emotions. And that to me was like it's such a valuable lesson that my parents never even taught me.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's something that everyone needs to be taught. Even if you're in a monogamous relationship, these are things that you need to work on developing: patience, understanding, empathy, clear and succinct even communication skills. I'm still working on the succinct part. But I think overall with polyamory, with the judgments, because we're going to go into some stereotypes in a second, but for me it's interesting because it's 2021, right? Most people consider themselves open-minded when it comes to tolerating people of other ethnicities and cultures, other religious beliefs, even other sexual preferences. Yet when you tell a person, I love two people, and they know about it, everyone gets along and it's fine, suddenly they freak out, you know?
Yeah.
So I want to talk about what are some specific poly stereotypes that you guys have encountered. I know we addressed the slutty thing, you know. Are there any others?
When I told someone in my family that I was poly, it was the look on the face. Like, there were no words that were needed.
Can you do it? Show us the face. Show us the face. I want to see this face.
It was it was literally like, you know, like.
I'm scared to ask who that is. They probably hate me now. I just saw them at Christmas.
It was a look that was like. I didn't tell you I was like, I'm going to go and, you know, go and live in some weird looking commune, like a cult or something that's crazy. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm just telling you that I'm in a relationship where we can love openly, you know, and honestly.
And communicate about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because most people can love somebody else. They just can't tell their partner about
right, exactly.
It, you
Yeah.
know?
And so I think that was tough for me because it was an automatic judgment, you know, and this was somebody, I told this person obviously because I trust them and you know, they're my family, so I figured, you know, hey, you know, we're family, we'll accept each other, that's what we do, right? But it was, like I said, almost an instantaneous judgment on me, you know, like just, and I could feel it. And I don't know necessarily if it has to do with a stereotype that I dealt with, but it was definitely a snap judgment that I was able to assess, like, and feel immediately.
Yeah. Any other stereotypes or whatever for you?
Well, apart from like my friend calling me slutty, I mean, I don't think being slutty is a bad thing anyway. Like, I'm not sure what he was trying to do.
Like, what do you mean there? Like having a active, healthy sex life? Like,
yeah, I feel like actually a number of people I know have the capacity to be polyamorous, but it's just safer for them to not pursue it. Because it's just safe, right? You already have one partner. Like, why do you want to like explore this gray area that's not really super talked about and risk challenging yourself and stepping out of your comfort zone? So I don't think I've had super negative reactions to it, apart from like I haven't told my family. I haven't told my mom. Obviously, I don't think she can handle it. But my sister knows.
She doesn't see this podcast.
All she does is watch like Korean TV dramas. So.
Well, I'll talk about some general poly stereotypes that I've heard and come across. The first one, I think people always say, like, say if we were in a regular monogamous relationship and we suddenly wanted to open up and become poly, most people would say you're trying to fill a void in your relationship. You know, you're not happy. Why don't you just leave her and go get the person that actually makes you happy, you know?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's just rude.
No.
Right,
but I think a lot of see, you're lucky you haven't had to deal with all this shit. The other one is that the woman is insecure. Like in her case, it would be she's insecure and just going along with this because I want to sleep around and she doesn't want to lose me. And I don't think that's true. The flip version of that would be if she wanted to open the relationship up. Some people would say, oh, I'm a beta male and she wants to go sleep with real alpha males. There's all this kind of stuff, man. You want to just sleep around with any and everybody. I guess that's the slutty thing that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that is that no one's partner is safe with you around because you're polyamorous.
Yeah, like you're always trying to take somebody's man or woman. Yeah.
Like there's this great poly agenda to just totally subvert monogamy and do away with like societal norms. Like I don't think it's that deep. I think a lot of times it is simply I can love this person, I can love that person. We're all okay with it. It is what it is, you know?
The interesting thing is that all these things that you've said, all these negative remarks that people say, it just all stems from insecurities and fear, right?
Yep.
It's the world we live in.
Sometimes. Yeah, they're just scared.
And these are the same people, I think, that they're in monogamous relationships, but you'd rather lie to your partner. Or you don't realize your partner's lying to you, and like at least with I feel like a lot of times when I've heard stuff like that, it's just, but I can go to my partner and tell him exactly what I was like. I was talking to my friend Jason. He knows who Jason is, and that's all that matters. That Jason and I have a relationship.
You were talking to Jason. Oh, hold on, wait, stop the podcast. Who the hell is Jason?
But in the same way, like he can come and tell me, hey, I'm talking to Jennifer over there, and I know who Jennifer is. He's told me, and that's fine. Like that's just the way that it works in my relationship, and quite frankly, that's the value in my mind of being in an open being in a poly relationship where you can be open and honest and communicate.
I think
definitely
we joke a lot of times. Like I'll tell her, hey, go on my phone and pull up something or see who texts me or whatever, and we laugh all the time because I'm like, how many married men or just men in a relationship can tell their woman, go in my phone and like go through my pictures and look at the last pictures? Like guys would freak out, but moving forward, I want to say, because you guys were speaking on basically how other people are similar to this, but they still have this kind of mental block about accepting poly. So here's some stats that I found, right? 4 to 5% of all adults are currently in an open or polyamorous relationship. That's interesting because only 2% of the population are in LGBTQ relationships. So polyamory is actually more prevalent than being a member of the LGBTQ community. So that's interesting, right? Now,
and this is just based in US. These statistics are US based.
Yeah, US. Okay. I'm sorry for the international among us. You're like, wait a minute, that's not how it is in Singapore. But yeah, in the US, that's what it is.
Definitely not.
It says 20% of people have tried some kind of open or poly relationship. Among adults aged 18 to 44, 17% have had sex with someone outside of their relationship with their partner's consent. And about 30% say it's okay to have an open relationship if your partner consents to that. So I feel like this trend is definitely on the rise among millennials and Gen Xers. Have you guys seen that reflected in your experiences, or?
I think that from, let's see. So I actually saw an episode of House Hunters. Okay, I watched it, and I was blown away that there was a throuple on searching for a house on House Hunters, and because you don't see it on TV outside of the shows that where like it's almost what is it like?
The poly family shows.
Yeah, where it's almost scripted a little bit, in those type of shows. But this was it was just a regular show. Like I said, House Hunters are looking for a house, and it's a group of, they didn't treat them any differently. They were just like, hey, we just need this type of house, we need this type of, space or whatever. And it was interesting to me to see that, because you usually only see couples, right? Regular, your regular married husband and wife. Yeah. So it was really cool to see that. But I think going back to the question is like something like that almost makes it normal. right? It brings it to an audience of people who probably neve seen
Ooh, that's
three
the
people.
fear. Normalizing loving multiple people and being honest.
Right. But to see these people, like, they talked through, like, well, one of the wives was like, no, this doesn't look like it's gonna work. Like, but what about this bathroom over here? And they were able to talk through, like, you could tell they had different tastes and everything. It was really great to see, and I think it was a great introduction for people who had never heard of poly before, and being able to see this throuple in the way that they functioned in a very normal situation, in a very normal circumstance, you know.
Quick question: I don't remember their ages. Did they appear to be millennials or Gen Xers?
No, they were older. They had
Gen Xers, maybe 40s, early
yeah,
40s.
Okay,
so Gen X.
Yeah, late 30s, early 40s, absolutely.
How about you, Em? Have you seen it more among younger people or spread out?
I'm a millennial. I don't think
we're millennials too, man. Just the way you see,
yeah.
like, I'm a millennial. You know, you people are old as hell with kids.
No, well, okay. So here's the thing, right? Like, I know of a couple of couples who are in open relationships, and I've definitely interacted with a number of people who are polyamorous, but they're in their late 30s to 40s, maybe 50s.
Okay. Maybe the tail end of Gen X. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't really know if, like, the younger generation is more polyamorous or not, because I don't think I necessarily interact with them as much. It's just, I guess my line of work just doesn't really make me interact with a lot of younger people. Yeah.
So you are seeing it though among, let's say, people in their 20s to 40s at least.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, millennials and Gen X. So my question is, if it's this common, why is there so much of social stigma against it, right? And I was thinking about this last night and it hit me. I feel like, unlike say a homosexual relationship, even, because that's a different type of relationship to hetero people, but the premise is still the same. Even if you're in a homosexual relationship, generally you've been raised with the same propaganda from the time you were little, you know, soulmate, find one person to complete you. I think the notion of polyamory really challenges most people's insecurities concerning, am I enough, you know? Because then you have to worry about, like, we're married and I thought I was set for life, but what if she finds someone else more interesting than me? I think that's the mindset, even though, I mean, the way cheating and divorce rates can happen anyway.
Yeah.
I like to add to that too. I think it stems from, like, how just, you know, like, from the Bible to how, like, cultures are. Everyone's kind of taught, like man and wife, right? You should be together, and it's only not too long ago that, like, being gay is okay, you know. And then gay marriages only got approved, like, less than 10 years ago in the US. I think polyamory could be the next thing, because like you said, like, Vic, you saw, like, a TV show with, like, a throuple, like, hunting for houses, and then on Netflix also, like, over the past couple of years there's been a lot of LGBTQ actors being, like, engaged in the shows. And then just recently, I think only a few months back, this Polyamory TV show came on too. It's called You, Me, and Her, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, so I mean, it shows, like, the struggles, like, a regular couple goes through, and then finding, like, a third person and going in and out of a relationship. It's pretty dramatized, but that's on Netflix. So
Cool. Check it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out. I saw Trigonometry. I think I told you about that, Em. It was about a chef and her boyfriend decided to open their relationship, so it was a polyamorous show. It's a British show. But it's funny though, because everything you keep saying, Em, I'm like, did she read my notes? Because you're providing the perfect segue, so thank you. So that was my next point, talking about history and the history of monogamy, right? Like, we're taught this is the right way, this is how humans are, but actually history does not support that. In my little quick research for this particular segment, or this episode rather, I learned that throughout the anthropological record of all human societies ever studied, only 15% of them have been monogamous. Think about that. Humans have been around for 200,000 years. We did not first begin to practice monogamy until about 10,000 years ago. furthermore, to M's point that she just made, monogamy didn't start to become widespread until about 2,000 years ago after the rise of ancient Greece, Rome, and the spread and promulgation of Christianity. So that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
We're being beholden to these antiquated ideals, even if we don't believe in that. We're not adherents to the Christian religion. Everyone is still locked in that mindset. Em, I think you have something to say. Hit me with it.
I had an epiphany.
Okay.
It's one way to control your population from not overthrowing you as like a kingdom, right? Let's say, like kings, you're allowed to have wives, concubines, it's very common. But like as common people, you're not supposed to have like wives or concubines, right?
Right.
Like, can you imagine? So think about it. Like, let's say I'm M. I'm just a commoner. I'm a peasant. But I decide to birth 100 children with like different men, right, or something like that, and I have an army eventually, and that could easily overthrow, whatever the ruling government is.
The clan, yeah. That's
Sorry, just random epiphany. So like as society has developed, right, or when it started developing, like all these rules needed to be enforced so that you keep people in check, basically, so that it runs smoothly. Yep. So that's just a theory.
No, I think it's more than a theory, because that was next in my notes. Stay out my phone. I know my wife is in my phone. You're in my phone. But no, that's actually next in my notes, right? Because I was reading, and people have said for hundreds of years even that polyamory wasn't a word, of course, for hundreds of years, but this overall concept, people thought this was, quote, the biggest threat to Western civilization, because they felt that wealthy men and rich men could hoard all the women, and then the common men, the peasant men, the peasantry, if you will, would not be able to find enough women and wives, so all the men would go around and just be angry and kill each other. That is the basic common assumption of why legally there is no polyamory. Now people want to say, the tax code and all that, but that's a more recent development. It's about men not killing each other because they don't have enough women to basically have sex.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
You believe that? Hold on, wait.
No.
You're going against what we're doing here. But I don't know. I'm just saying, like, M's theory is true. That's actually a thing.
I agree with it, because so something happened many years back in Singapore. I think it was like early 2000s. So they in Singapore legalized prostitution, and rape cases went down drastically.
Yeah, and that's what I've been saying. They should do that here to keep going.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think men generally are a lot more aggressive, and I don't know, they say men are very horny people. I say women are horny too, but I think it's built inside of the male genders to like spread seed, right?
Reproduce.
Because your sole purpose. Yeah, you just have to reproduce. Like as like a living creature, your duty is to reproduce and carry on the line, right? So if you're deprived of that fact, of course you're gonna go a bit crazy. I 100% agree with what you said.
Cool. And other people are starting to agree with these ideas too. It's cool that you're coming up with this independently, but there's scientific research backing up what we're talking about. For example, psychiatrist Jeffrey Miller notes polygyny, which is where one man has multiple wives, makes it harder for lower value men to find partners. But polyamory, because it's just not male oriented, like you can have multiple partners, except for this Jason guy. But no, like polyamory, he said, actually makes it easier for low value men to find partners, because these guys don't have to be good enough to be a woman's primary partner. And so I thought about that, and okay, you guys tell me, right, as women, if a guy, he might not be tall enough for you, he might not be good enough at sex for you, he might not be a high enough earner for you, right? If a guy has one or two of those deficiencies, generally, from my assumption, a woman might say, he's nice, but I don't want to marry him. I don't want to be with him forever, so sorry, bud, you miss out. However, if a woman has multiple avenues to get what she needs, well, you might not be great at sex, or you might not have a high earning position, but she has a husband who makes a lot of money, and she has somebody else who keeps her satisfied. She can go out with the guy who doesn't fulfill those needs, but like he loves going to art museums with her, or karaoke,
Yeah, I can definitely see how like it would create creates a space for everybody, right? I think because not only men, but I think women as well, what you could call low value women, same way, you have low value men, because it's about the purpose, right? It's the whatever it is that you see in that person. Because for women, I think a lot of times, oh, he or she makes me laugh, right? That's usually the thing that'll draw you into somebody being able to sit down and talk to them. But like you said, if maybe it's just not the physical connection isn't there, but in the sense of being able to be intimate or whatever, but that doesn't mean that you don't really care for this person and you haven't developed feelings for this person and you don't really care about that person, right? So, and I think, like you said, it just does go, it creates a space for that individual, even though it's not fulfilling all of the needs. Because as a woman, maybe you just have those needs met somewhere else, and that's okay, because it doesn't mean you love that person any less. She said it's a different need, right? It's a different, space that's being filled.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. Any thoughts on that in particular, Em? I didn't see your hand raised. So.
No, I think it's true. Like everything you guys said is 100% true. I think it's normal that people want to find a sense of security, be it financial, sexual, emotional, and polyamory just opens up that to having you be able to find it from various people, and not having to rely or be trapped in one relationship where you feel like some aspect of it is unfulfilled, and then you carry on being miserable for like 20 years, 30, 50,
because no one's happy
till you
there,
die.
and that sucks. So to that point, and I want to come back to asking if poly is biased towards men, but just since we're on this subject right now, right? A recent Tinder study found that the bottom 80% of men, 80% of men in terms of attractiveness, the bottom 80% of those men are competing for the bottom 22% of women.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and
There's just not a lot of women.
78% of women are competing for the top 20% of men.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay.
crazy.
Okay. Question. When was the last time you guys were on Tinder?
Huh?
When was the last time you guys were on Tinder?
Years ago.
I've never used it. I've never been on it.
Okay, so I've been on it, I think, within the past year and a half, right? I have to say it's really competitive out there. I'm an SF, right? So there are a lot of beautiful women around, very well groomed, very successful, have active lifestyles, have varying hobbies, and I'm someone who works in the kitchen, has no time, work from 1 to 11 p.m., maybe even later.
Yeah.
So I'm competing with all these women, and I think it's just really funny that there's a lot of. You said 78% competing for 22%?
Yeah.
78% female competing for 20%.
The top 20% of men.
Yep.
She's
Struggle's
like,
real.
I felt that.
Yeah,
I got it.
Yeah, I feel.
The struggle is real.
I don't know. I hope to say I'm the top 78%. Doesn't matter, but this is a struggle.
Yeah, it definitely is. I guess that type of culture, but again, I think poly could be the great equalizer there, because again, if we're not just pairing off with one person, hey, there's space for the woman who works in the kitchen every day. You know what I'm saying? Now, I want to ask you guys, since we've all lived polyamorous lives, what would you guys say are some of the benefits of polyamory versus, say, monogamy?
I think that for me, I value my me time, right? So I don't want to feel selfish for wanting me time. So being able to, my me time includes usually a basketball or football game, FYI. So when I want to go and watch a football game or a basketball game, I will, I don't want to feel guilty about that. I don't want to feel guilty that I want to do something on my own that he doesn't particularly like.
Because I hate sports.
Yeah, he's not a sports person.
So people understand.
So, and the fact that he can go to one of his partners and say, hey, I'm going to, Vic is over here watching football. You got a couple hours. Let's go to the movies. Let's go out to eat. Let's go, COVID, obviously, all of those things, like he can do that, and so for me, it's like I said, the me time aspect, being able to do what I want to, not feel guilty about that, but his needs also being fulfilled by, like I said, going out to music, going out to eat, being able to connect in whatever way he wanted to. So I think that's probably one of the best things about poly for me, and one of the things that I think has been the most beneficial.
What about you, man?
I feel the same. So right now I'm not practicing polyamory so much because I'm in a serious relationship with a partner who's not super open to it. But I guess that's another topic for another time.
It's a whole episode.
But it's a whole episode dedicated to my life. Okay, so when I was dating and openly dating multiple people at once, so like the people I was dating knew that I was dating other people, I guess that you can consider that polyamory, right? It was great because like I said, I was back then opening up a restaurant, so I had like no time, and when I didn't have time, it's like in random times of the day, random times of the week, and obviously if I just stuck to one partner, it would be very difficult for a matching schedule and for me to have fun, basically. So I was able to go out with people who were like big foodies or in the food industry, and then when the person isn't available, or when I was feeling like, oh, I want to go like dancing, and then there's like another person for that who like enjoy my company, but at the same time we all knew that I was polyamorous and I was like seeing other people as well, and it was okay, and that was great, and it lasted for a while until until COVID hit.
COVID killed the whole poly game, let me tell you.
COVID hit.
On poly,
yeah. It's hard.
Yeah, I think for me, I like the fact that in a poly relationship, number one, you can make your own rules. There's no one size fits all. Because I think even in monogamous relationships, people try to, hold themselves to whatever ideal that, who created this ideal? Your parents didn't live up to it. Your grandparents weren't living like that. If you peel behind the veil, who came up with this ideal? So I like being able to make my own rules. I like the notion that, kind of like what Vic said, one person doesn't have to be your everything, because that's a lot of pressure. You guys touched on that at the beginning. Like I always say, you can't even be everything for yourself. How is another person supposed to be everything for you? Like, that's a really tall order. You say something?
I think that you're right about like that one person can't be everything for you, but I feel like if you're exposed to more people and if you're dating more people and you get to learn about them in a more intimate way, and you get to grow as a person, I feel like emotionally like a lot faster. With having like many different partners, I got to learn to be a lot more patient with people, because everyone has different wants and needs, right? And then being accepting and open to that, I think it was a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Expanding my horizons, again, learning how to better control myself, how to grow as a person, like you said, emotional maturity. Also, I felt like from expanding my horizons from that perspective, like I've dated women from all over the world, and so I've learned so much about other cultures, other ways of life. I've learned new languages. This has been very good for me as a creative person, because my wellspring to draw from is almost endless, so I think that's it. And I want to ask you guys about another thing that I kind of feel is an advantage of poly, for me at least. It's been an incentive to keep myself together physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And what I mean by that is I feel like a lot of people get married and they feel like, oh, I have her trapped now, she can't go anywhere. I can let myself
then you let go of yourself.
And I feel like when you're polyamorous, you understand that you never know when fate is going to lead you to another good connection, so you kind of keep yourself together. I don't know, maybe it's just me.
No, I agree with that. I do think it is an incentive, even if you're not actively looking for another partner. it's like you said, like what if fate comes and you want to be at your best, right? You want to be emotionally there, you want to be physically there, you want to be fully prepared to forge that connection. So I agree with that. I do 100%. Because but even if you don't, even if you're not looking for a partner, like I said, it's still just the connection in general, right? You still want to be at your best.
Yeah, and it helps you feel good about yourself.
Absolutely.
Even if even if it's not about catching a new partner every day, the fact that you're staying on top of it. Like for me, I feel good when I go to the gym and work out. That's partially for me. That's also partially for you and other partners, but it makes me feel good about myself. I don't know, Em, is that shallow, you think?
I don't think it. Okay, why would it be shallow? I think it's normal, right? Like you obviously have to find a person somewhat physically attractive. Well, you don't have to. But
I think that's easier for women though, because guys are so visual.
Yeah, men are, I think, much more visual than women.
But I'm sorry, keep going.
Yeah. No, but it's true, because for the longest time too, I never really dated anybody for their looks. I was pretty open. I think I would like to. I used to think I was bisexual, but then I realized I think I'm just pansexual. It doesn't matter what the end, like the genital area looks like. But yeah, I think it's important to find yourself attracted to a person, and if you are attractive, means you are taking care of yourself, right? Because it's hard to look attractive when you've let yourself go, or when you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well, your skin is like gray, like, you know what I mean? And it's important, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to feel good, and if you feel good, you behave like you not behave, like you are better, you're in a better mindset, you're able to be a better person for not only yourself but obviously the people around you. So I think it's perfectly fine. I don't think it's shallow.
Okay.
I think it's great.
And I think, to go off of that too, like your energy, right? To have your energy in the right place. To be able to deal with other people, interact with other people. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Okay, here's what's really, really funny. So I was taking a ride share, and that was like way back, obviously pre-COVID. And then this person, like we just met, and he was like really chatty. I was like, okay, let's just talk, right? And I was getting a ride to dinner, and he was getting a ride home or something like that. And he was a great conversationalist, and we exchanged Instagram users. But it was so funny. I saw his profile, and it was a Kanye quote. I want to something along the lines with I want you to be able to reach your maximum potential. I feel like polyamory does that for a lot of people. It changes you as a person. The more you interact with different people, the more you connect with people, and more inside their minds you are, the more you are like a network of different brains. You're not just one brain. You're thinking about everybody's feelings. You're thinking about how everybody thinks. So I think it's not shallow at all to want to be like that.
I agree. It makes sense. And to your point about reaching your fullest potential, like Vic knows, I've been on this for well over a decade as far as reaching your fullest potential. Like I strive for that every day, to be at my best. I push her to be at her best. She pushes me, and that is my goal for all of my partners. How can I put it? If I don't feel like taking the time to help you be your best, see you at your best, I'm not going to waste time with you. I feel like that's how I express my love, right? What is it you're trying to do with your life? Where, okay, I'm good at finding paths to things. So it's always like, hey, let's do that, and I want to be at my best too. So I think it's that mutual encouragement. That's a cornerstone of how I pick relationships personally. So, good Kanye quote. I didn't know it's a Kanye quote, but
I don't know if it's a true Kanye quote, but I like to believe it.
right.
It's just funny.
It's good either way. It doesn't matter who the messenger is. Now I want to switch gears for a second here. What are some drawbacks of polyamory, would you say? Because everyone wants to know. You talked about it and made it sound so great. What would be some of the drawbacks of the lifestyle?
I'd say once you've had a taste of what's good or what you feel like you're connected with, it's hard to revert back to, how it was way back when, polyamory was not a thing.
So you mean it's hard to revert back to monogamy?
Yeah.
Okay, I can see
like
that,
there's always going to be that thought in your head, like, oh, like when will be the next time I'll see someone, or like, or have a different interaction with somebody else. Like obviously COVID makes things a lot easier for that to happen, right? Because you're essentially allowed to just stay at home.
Right,
You're stuck.
If you're stuck.
This is a monogamy
so
disease.
Oh my god, right? Conspiracy theory.
Right.
But yeah, it makes it more convenient, I guess, with COVID to be monogamous. But I do miss that interaction with somebody else, because being with a like one partner, like sometimes it's not as like lively or as because when you meet someone new, or if you interact with a different person, it's a different reaction altogether. Different chemicals are happening.
New relationship
so
energy.
I definitely relationship energy is different. So I definitely miss that for sure. But I'm not dying just yet.
Hold on, hang in there. The vaccine's coming. But no, that's true though. Like you said, conspiracy theory, like the world was going more towards polyamory. People were opening up, so they released this disease to make everyone stay home and be monogamous. I'm sorry. Someone's gonna take that and run with it though.
Right.
Oh, for sure.
I think one of the negative traits one of the negative things that a lot of people have to deal with more than anything is jealousy. And I think people in monogamous relationships have to deal with jealousy too. Like if we were monogamous but M was my friend, like Vic might be like, oh, why are you talking to her, or why is she texting you? You know, like people have weird rules, like you can't text a person past a certain time of night. I guess like nothing bad can be said during the daytime. Like so I just feel like jealousy is the one emotion that adults are not really taught how to handle and process. Like you're taught as a child, you can't just go around hitting everyone who makes you angry, you know. You can't just go around crying every time you don't get your way. We're taught to manage every other emotion. But when it comes to jealousy, it's okay, because a rational human being will say, oh my gosh, she looked at your man? Well, I understand, I agree, yeah, you should hit her. You know, I would have hit her too. It's like, it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I love the lifestyle that we live, that I have. I can't think of many drawbacks for me personally, but I know from what I've seen and what I've watched other people struggle with, communication is a big deal. I think with people in general, like whether you're in a monogamous relationship or in a poly relationship, communication can be a problem if you're not honest and open, and you don't feel like you can be who you need to be with the person you're with, right? Like I'm grateful for the open communication that I have with, you know, here. I think it's probably the best. Almost like if I had to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, or if we're as close to a 10 when it comes to communication, and I value that tremendously.
If I can do nothing else, I can talk.
You know, and I know that other people don't have that the ability to do that. But like I said, from what I've seen, that's something that people have struggled with, is just being able to communicate openly and honestly, and I think that really sucks. As a person who has a partner she can communicate with, you know, my heart really does break. Whether, like, I don't care what kind of relationship you're in, if you can't openly talk to your partner like that, my heart hurts for you. Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, that just shows that you're not able to be vulnerable around your partner, and that's not that's not great.
So many people, unfortunately, I think. Going back to that, the reason why that is the case is because there are not enough role models. We talked about this before. There are not a lot of depictions of us in the media. And then another thing is, like, there's no like medical or psychiatric help for that. And what I mean is, for example, being homosexual used to be listed in the DSM-4, the psychologist's handbook. It used to be listed as a mental disorder until I believe the late 1970s, right? However, if I were to go in and sit with a therapist today and say, hey, I've pretty much been non-monogamous my whole life since 6th grade, she would say, I think you have deep-rooted commitment issues that you need to address, and we need to root those. You see what I'm saying? There's that stigma even from the medical point of view.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, like if you had more people being represented, or even, I think there might be more poly people than we realize. Even with the statistics that you gave us earlier, they're obviously out there. But I think for us to be able to be more open and out there and present to the world would address a lot of those little stigmas and things like, you know, within a deeply rooted commitment issue.
Yeah, and then time management. Like, Em, how was time management for you? I know you spoke about having, you know, your job and weird schedule.
It was jam-packed weeks.
Em was quite popular, I see. Okay.
Like I like to stay busy, right? I mean, obviously, like I think as I've gotten older, I feel more tired. This just comes with
Wait
age.
till you have kids.
But oh man, that's a different thing. But yeah, time it really makes you time manage a lot better, right? You have to like set aside time for the person, not just to go out and experience things, but like if the person decides to like give you a call and like wants to talk to you about stuff, you know, like you have to set aside time for that too. Whereas I feel like if you're in just like a physical relationship where you're just like sleeping with them, you know, like you don't have to entertain a call at all, right?
Yeah,
sorry.
Deal with that yourself, you know.
Yeah, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Right, but if you respect the person enough and you want something if you want it to last longer than just like few nights, then yeah, it's definitely something you have to put in the time to. So yeah, being polyamorous, you have to be able to time manage very, very well.
I agree, and I saw someone else mentioning another type of resource management, like financial. Like, okay, everyone just went through COVID last year. Everyone felt the crunch. What do you do, say, for Christmas? And you have to buy gifts for all your partners. So I thought that was something I hadn't actually thought of. But I do think there are very real tangible risks as well. Drawbacks for polyamory: you could lose your job. You could lose your apartment because being polyamorous is not a protected class. And I think as a parent, the most infuriating part is some people have their children taken away in some states because they're polyamorous. And I really thought about this. I said, wait a minute, we could live in a house where I was cheating on her and lying, we were arguing and having conflicts. You know, the state would never come in your house and take your children for that. But if we say we're in love and we love someone else and it's okay, suddenly they want to come in and take your kids for that. Like, that's kind of backwards.
You guys are not. Yeah, like suddenly, all of a sudden, you're not capable of managing your own life in your own life.
There's too much love here. Sorry, you know.
Right, exactly.
This is not allowed.
And I feel like it's hypocrisy because, again, we talked about earlier how that's rooted in that Judeo-Christian mindset, right? But, okay, for example, speaking of that, I saw a documentary a few months ago on polyamory. It was a guy, he was married, his wife had a girlfriend, and eventually the husband and the girlfriend fell in love and they became a throuple, right? Well, they interviewed the guy's best friend and he said, well, I consider myself a pretty religious person personally, and I would never do something like that, but he is my friend, so it's kind of weird, but I guess I have to support him. And I was just thinking, like, how messed up is that for him to assume some moral superiority? Because I always tell people, in the Bible, I grew up a Christian, I'm not a Christian now, but in the Bible, a lot of the great men had multiple wives. David, Esau, Solomon, it's one other guy, Jacob, you know, so doesn't that kind of present...
James?
Maybe J guys, one of them J guys, but it wasn't Jesus, but it was another one of the J guys. So I feel like, doesn't that at least make the case for polyamory? You get what I'm saying? Like, it's against my religious beliefs, but in your book, a few of the great men were polyamorous, essentially.
And you know, from what some of the stuff I've actually seen there in 2020 specifically, there's been some ordinances that have actually moved in our favor. I say our, you know, but poly and people who are poly, our favor. In Berkeley, there was an ordinance that was put forth, as well as this one was surprising me. It was like Sumter, Massachusetts, or something like that. There's an ordinance that protects people who have multiple partners. They're non-monogamous, and you know, it's obviously there's nothing that could be done like outside of that city ordinance, because you know there's the state, federal, whatever. But within that city, those people are protected. They're offered certain protections, and it happened in 2020 a lot, specifically because of COVID, right? When you had an individual with multiple partners, these partners wanting to go into the hospital to see their partner. Like, how can you tell somebody no that you love this person, but you can't go visit them in a hospital, you know? So I think that for me, that gives me some hope, right? Because obviously there are discussions that are happening. The one in Berkeley, I don't think anything really went anywhere with that one. I think San Francisco actually has something that they've been talking about for non-monogamous people as well, that's been on the table for a while. Again, I don't think it's gone anywhere, but again, the conversations are happening, and I think that is amazing. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about a little while ago about almost normalizing, trying to normalize something that it's okay to love multiple people, and you can't. How can you possibly tell somebody it's wrong for you to love more, right? So, I for me, like you said, I've just been trying to pay attention to those things. Oh, and another one, Utah actually legalized, because it was originally illegal to be married, like plural marriage, that was illegal. Now you can definitely be still put in jail for marrying multiple people. However, but you don't have to basically be put in jail for having multiple partners.
So in the marriage, because Utah, has a big Mormon community, so of course that's a religious form
based,
of poly. But I guess the key takeaway there is in Utah, we could be polyamorous there and live openly and wouldn't have to worry about that. So I guess that is a good development. Especially because you would think Utah would be a more conservative state.
Correct.
But speaking of conservatives and conservative mindsets, in studies that have been done have shown that conservative people actually fantasize about polyamorous relationships and open relationships and group sex more than so-called liberal people. So I feel like there's a lot of people just not being real with themselves, or maybe they're real with themselves, but it's like we're conservative Christians and I feel polyamorous, but I can't tell my wife for fear of social or religious reprisal. So I personally think if we all were to just start being honest with each other and having more conversations, even one-on-one, like even how we share here today, I think that will start opening the doors for a lot of people, and we'll start realizing we have more in common than not.
Absolutely.
So I guess in closing, I will say polyamory is here, man. It's the new wave. It's coming to a city near you. In fact, it is what it is. Because think about it.
What?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, maybe Maybelline. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's polyamory. But the truth is, to all those who are listening, you're listening because you're curious. You might not want to jump off the bridge yourself and be poly right now, but you've heard about the term or you know someone who is poly, so you're curious. Well, the truth of the matter is there are many people who are curious, and your friends, your neighbors, your co-workers, some family members, even some of the people you go to church or temple with probably are already polyamorous and you just don't know it. And the truth is, in the future, your children may end up being polyamorous, or you may end up being polyamorous. But I feel in a world full of deception, greed, and hatred, is having the ability to love more than one person at a time really that bad?
Exactly.
So let us know what you think in the comments. Hit the subscribe button. We'll try to hit you guys with new content weekly. And we have some good episodes coming up. What we're going to talk about? What to do if you want to transition your monogamous relationship towards poly, how to handle it if your partner is not into that, how do you...
I need that. Teach me.
Oh, we got you. Tune in.
I'll tune in.
Plenty of things, legal ways to set up your trusts and stuff so that your family can be protected financially. Lots of new legal updates and things coming around. So there's plenty we can talk about in this space, how to have safe sex, within the confines of poly relationships. So you guys, I want you all to comment below any questions you have, any interesting comments. We'll try to go through some questions next time, take the best questions, take the best comments, and maybe even get some people to call in. What you guys think?
That's good.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next time on My Poly Life. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.